Good morning and welcome to a blustery Le Havre. It's Thursday, the Transat Jacques Vabre starts on Sunday, and for those of you who are armchair sailors, Geoff and I are going to give you a quick tour of the IMOCA fleet for this year. Now there's 40 boats this year. It's an incredible fleet, so we're not going to have that much time for each boat because I've got a safety briefing to go to. But we're kicking off with Chirale, Geoff.
Chirale's the first built of the new generation, so it's been on the water since 2022. Very innovative, always the Chirale team. You see the efforts they've gone to at the bottom of the boom for the end plate effect off the deck. So I don't think that was necessarily as advanced as that last year. So that I noticed this year looks really cool. Obviously they've got the V split rudders, which we looked at the Route de Rhum, which is the only boat with that, but there's been plenty of video of them pretty much definitely fully foiling in flat water. So interesting to see how it goes in these races, but obviously did well in the Rhum. Yeah.
And Chirale's being sailed by Jeremy Biu, who is the regular skipper, and then Frank Camas, who has an incredible ocean racing pedigree on multiple classes. So definitely this is going to be one to watch. So moving on next door, we have Teamwork. So this is a Swiss team, and they are kind of stabled with Chirale. This is the old Chirale, and these two teams are one of the two groups of teams that are working together. So this is Justine Matreau, Swiss sailor, and just let me look up who her co-skipper is. What have you got to say about this boat meanwhile, Geoff?
Not much. I mean, it was innovative for its time. Again, they built it early in the Vendée campaign. Never quite hit the mark, really, I don't think, as much as they wanted to. Obviously had problems in the Vendée Globe. I don't know how much they've changed it, but obviously they're working in collaboration with the Chirale team, or managed, I think, by the Chirale team maybe. So they're obviously got all the good intel from last time. So it was a quick boat and still will be.
And Justine's co-skipper is Julien Villion, and I think we're going to see a really solid performance out of this boat, in particular because Justine was part of the 11th hour racing team for the ocean race. So she's got some big miles in now, and pushing the boat really hard in team format. So again, I think this is going to be an interesting performance from this boat.
Yeah, you'll see they've still got the pretty flat-faced foils, which there's probably not many boats with that left. I know DMG Maury, which was a sister ship to this when it was built, had them, and they've revised theirs to more of the later shape, which you can see on Maitre Coq.
Yeah, moving down here then to Maitre Coq. This is Yannick Bestevan, of course, the winner of the last Vendée Globe race in his new boat, which was launched last year just before the Route de Rhum. So obviously a year's worth of miles and testing on this now. His co-skipper is Julien Palvé. Anything to say about this boat, Geoff?
Yeah, it's Verdier design. Again, they got the money pretty much straight after the last race. In fact, we looked at buying their old boat before we bought ours.
So I think one of the really interesting things we can see really clearly about this one is the completely covered cockpit. So we're now starting to see super deep cockpits, totally covered over. So lots and lots of indoor sailing, which I think is probably going to be quite comfortable for the first part of the race.
Yeah, he's got a cool sunroof hatch, which is not many people have, which is nice.
So moving down now, we get to the first of the Daggerboard boats. So this is freelance.com. So this is Guirec Soudi and Roland Jourdan. Roland Jourdan, again, is somebody with an incredible ocean racing pedigree, and Guirec really proved himself last year. He was one of the Daggerboard boats that consistently had high performance in the race. It looks like a really nicely prepared boat, but look at the contrast between this massively open cockpit here. He's got a roof that slides over, you can see, and the completely closed one of Maitre Coq next to him, really showing the difference in the generations of designs there.
That was their Hugo Boss from 2012, and in fact we've got 3 Hugo Bosses in a line. We've got 2012, 2020 and 2016 over there, but that was always one of the fastest forward boats, Phare design from 2008, really quick for a boiler.
Moving down then, we're on to another Swiss team. So this is Hublot, and they've got two Swiss skippers, so Alain Rohrer, and he's sailing with Simon Costa. So Simon has been racing a lot in the Class 40 fleet and has moved up to join Alan in Hublot. As Geoff said, this is an old Hugo Boss, so this was the first ever boat with that completely covered cockpit. This one's slightly different, in the cockpit is in the centre of the boat and right down deep, so there's not really even any attempt to be able to kind of see out. But they're completely enclosed and covered and protected from the elements. And the other thing you see here is they still have the sea foils, so if you look you can see Alan's foil coming out of the deck there. So when he puts his foils down, they go through the deck. I think they're the only boat now.
They're the only boat left, yeah.
Foils like this.
Kia Paprek's not sailing, it's up for sale. And the other boat that had their spare foils sank in their route to Rum. So they are the last ones of those. I think it's probably accepted that the Boss team probably took the inside cockpit too far with this boat. But all the new boats are basically along that trend. It's just it's less radical, they're sort of more on deck. I think probably Medallia is the closest to that one in terms of being inside.
And then finally in the row of Hugo Bosses, ex-Hugo Bosses, we have Benjamin Detraux and Corentin Euro. So they're Guyot Environment Water family. So Benjamin's kind of back from the ocean race. He did the ocean race with Offshore Team Germany, and they didn't have the best race. They had a bit of damage to the boat. They dismasted. I think it was really, really tough for them. So it's really good to see him back and ready to race here in the Transatlantic Farb.
Yeah, for sure he wouldn't have got what he wanted out of the ocean race, which I think is, learning how to push the boat hard and all that, but they just had so many setbacks that it was overall probably a negative experience for them, I would say, which for the other boats was highly positive.
And so moving on, we've got Group Appersil here. So this is a VPLP hull with the same modifications as us. This is really similar to what we've done. So Damien Segan sailing this with Laurent Bourges. And pretty much identical to what we've done. Damien's done a bow modification, just kind of cutting away the first part of the bow. His foils are slightly different shape to us, a bit more aggressive, so they've got more of an acute elbow in them, and the method for getting the foils up and down is slightly different to ours. He's got those arms on deck. Anything else to mention on this one,
No,
Geoff?
I haven't really figured out how his foils are coming up and down. I don't know why he's got that and we didn't have that, but you can see on his cockpit roof he's got this big block of foam, which you'll see on a few other boats in various places, and we're struggling with this side of the rule. But it's basically the boats have to be 5 times more stable upright than they are upside down. So you either got to try and lower the centre of gravity when you're upright, which obviously has a bigger effect, or try and make the boat turn upright when it's upside down. So they've got that block of foam under there. They've made the coach roof bigger. We made the coach roof bigger, but we still need to add some more. But you'll see that on a lot of boats, and it's not a great thing for the look of the boats.
Okay, so now we are moving on to, I think this the last boat?
Yeah,
launch?
July I think this year, or June,
So
July
this
year.
is Massive Santé Provoyance. So it's the new boat for Charlie Dallam, who of course absolutely stormed the fleet last year, and he's kind of started out like he meant to, hasn't he?
Yeah, won the Fastnet, having launched it. It can only have been a month before or something.
And he's racing with Pascal Bidegori, somebody again who has a really great ocean racing pedigree. So again, we've got fully covered cockpits. Charlie's foils are kind of flatter as they leave the boat. They're slightly flatter, a little bit kind of wider, looking for downwind performance. It's a neat, tidy boat. Whose design is this?
Verdier.
It's a Verdier one as well.
And it's probably Mare concept is it runs teams and builds its own boats. I think a lot of the time in in partnership with CDK, but this is probably like the 5th IMOCA they've built. So there's just a lot of stuff that they don't need to revisit. You know, they're not reinventing the wheel the whole time. It's really clean. Yeah, super cool boat. It's probably my favourite, I think. Apart from ours.
And then moving on to V and B. So this is Maxime Sorel and Christopher Pratt. So Maxime launched last year as well, and he actually took a little bit of a sojourn while his boat was being prepared to ascend Mount Everest. But he's back from that and ready for the TJV. Again, I think this is going to be a fast performance.
Yeah, it's out the mould of the old Pivia, well, Pivia 2020. So obviously quick boat.
So back down to a group of Daggerboard boats now. So here we've got the Belgium skipper Denis van Veenberg, Dieteren Group, and I'm not sure who his co-skipper is, I'm afraid. What can you tell us about this one, Joff?
Yeah, it's built for the 2016 race, but I think it looks like they've done loads of work to it. It's sort of a bit of a home project for that race, but it's well looked after. It lives in the Sable d'Olonne, and yeah, looks like they've really sharpened it up. It's not particularly quick, but it's, yeah, be fine for Vendée Globe, I think, I'm sure.
The next one is Foussier Moncotier Energie. So this is Seb Marset, and he's sailing with Sophie Fajot. Just kind of a note on that. So we've got 6 female skippers and 4 female co-skippers in the IMOCA class, which is quite cool. Yet again, we are the class that's leading the way with female participation. So Seb is pretty quick in this boat. And then moving on to Lazare. So this is Tanguy de la Motte, and just let me check who his co-skipper is. He's with Phoenix de Valacel. So what can you tell us about this one, Joff?
Yeah, it's got quicker and quicker, this boat, and actually he's done really well, hasn't he, in all the Transat stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly before when our old configuration, these guys were sort of chomping at the bit. This was DCNS for the 2008 Vendée Globe, when it was built. Didn't do very well in those colours, and yeah, just got quicker and quicker, really. Fino design. Certainly these 2 boats, I think, from the monohull, from the sort of non-foiling,
these are
two quick
quick
boats.
non-foilers for sure. And moving on, we have the most beautiful boat of the fleet, the one, the only Medallia, rocking a spankingly beautiful new pair of foils and a modified bow. And so our neighbours are Malizia Sea Explorer. So of course this is Boris Herman and British sailor Will Harris, freshly back from the ocean race. I mean, this is quite kind of radical approach, really, isn't it? It's VPLP design, fully enclosed standing cockpit again. I mean, everybody says how amazingly comfortable it is. It's got more sea foils, so kind of you see their foils are a continual curve, whereas ours have an elbow in them.
I think they're still the Manoir foils, aren't they? Because they had their original VPLV foils failed on the way back from the Rum, like a month or so before the start of the ocean race. So they managed to fit a set of Manoir, I think, from Sam's boat that had already been built, and managed to sort of fit them overnight, really, and carry on the ocean race. And they've stuck with them, so I obviously like them. Yeah,
they did them really well in the big breeze in the south. They just kind of a bit more consistent and a bit kinder, those big foils, to kind of the when you're flying and you come off the flight, you kind of get more quickly, smoother ride, and you get more quickly going again with the sea foils.
But yeah, they're in contention to win up until the last leg, I think, on that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so this is La Micaline, sailed by Arnaud Boissier with co-skipper Gerard Vignard. And this was previously Sam Davies's boat in the last Vendée, and Arnaud took it over straight away after the Vendée.
Well.
Yeah, moving on to Prismian Group. So again, this is one of the sister hulls to the mighty Medallia, and sailed by Giancarlo Pedotti, the Italian, and his co-skipper is Gaston Morvan. And again, Giancarlo has done similar modifications to us. He's got new, bigger foils, but he did this interestingly. So he did it in 2 stages. He did a big bow modification, much bigger than ours. So he took away, I don't know, 4 or 5 meters of the bow, probably. Yeah. And he did that first, and then raced last year with a modified bow, and then put the foils in this year. So 2-step process and more aggressive modifications than ours. So yeah, you can see the difference in cockpits there. So Giancarlo's got that massive big open area at the back of the boat, and then his actual cockpit is deep, much deeper than mine, but really quite small. I think there's probably a lot of protection in there, and he's got full standing headroom. But just kind of interesting to see how different the same hull lines can end up.
Yeah, when that was built, it was all about centre of gravity, so that's all the winches, you know, they're hardly off the waterline on that boat, so everything's dropped down as low as it can be.
So then moving on to Isabel Joschka, MAC-SF. So Isabel's had this boat for quite a while. We've seen it on a few dock tours. She does consistently well in it. She's just quick, isn't she?
Yeah, I think she's inevitably going to slip down the fleet a bit just because of the number of new boats. And it is a 2008 boat, which is easy to forget. And it's probably one of the most successful 2008 boats has had a conversion, really. There's not many successful ones. I'm trying to think of another one, and can't off the top of my head. But yeah, it's been really good. It's always a really quick boat, VPLV Verdier, and yeah, really good. And she'll be, you know, for the Vendée Globe, she will be in a good place, I think, because she's had the boat for ages. They've probably, in the last race, she had problems with the keel, but I'd imagine by now they've swapped through everything. She was always just struggling with some legacy stuff from when the boat was built. But I suspect that, you know, new rigs, I think most stuff on that boat is going to be new, so she should be all right.
And then next to her, we have another new build. So this is Johan Riesham and Jan Ellis. Again, so Jan Ellis has got a good IMOCA pedigree. Johan Riesham from the Ocean Race and Class 40s. 2 really, really big hitters in offshore ocean racing. What can you tell us about this design, Joff?
Yeah, it's one of 2 Fino Conch in collaboration with Antoine Koch. I think he's the primary architect on it. So that's I think a sister ship-ish to For the People. Johan is incredibly quick. The boat's going to be quick. They both had structural issues in the Fastnet, I think, or I think IKEA before the Fastnet, and they did a lot of reinforcement, and then I think For the People hadn't done that reinforcement, so had to pull out of the Fastnet into Cherbourg. I think that's the right way around, but I think if they've got their structures up together, then I think they'll be quick, and both of those skippers are obviously phenomenally quick, so I should imagine only good things will come. It's pretty low freeboard, isn't it, just looking at it now compared to the other new boats. So
this is definitely one to watch for the top 3, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then we're moving on to another Daggerboard boat, again somebody who proved to be very quick last year. So this is Benjamin Ferret and Pierre Leroy in Monoya Duo for a Job.
Yeah, I should say 2008 boat, I think, isn't it? But again, with those other 2 guys, pretty quick for non-foilers. And he's got a nice table for his lunch.
It's a big lunch table.
It's a big lunch table.
He's got a big lunch.
I guess
planned.
It's because he's got a co-skipper.
Yeah.
So you need
more
to have
snacks,
room for 2
more snacks.
2 lunches.
Double the charcuterie.
I think probably that gap there is for the barbecue on the frame at the back. So he's going to be sorted.
Okay, so moving on then to Fortinet Best Western. So this is Roman Atanasio, and Roman's co-skipper is Louis Very rare. Again, we've seen this boat a few times. It was Medallia in the 2020 Vendée Globe. Roman bought it afterwards and has had it for quite a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah, so it says, yeah, sister ship to Prismian, but with, modified for the last race. So they had fitted their foils. I think they have VPLP foils off the top of my head. They fitted those in 2020 at the height of COVID. So they did a good job getting that done. I think Roman struggles on the budget side sometimes. So I think he's sort of held back by that sometimes. But he's be fine.
We sympathise with that.
Yeah, for sure.
And then next to him, we have the Japanese team. So this is DMG Mori Global 1, Kojiro Shiraishi. No, I said that wrong. Kojiro Shiraishi. Koji. And he is sailing with Thierry Dupree du Vauçon. So this is the sister ship to Teamwork.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except he's now changed his foils, which I think he must have done last winter, because I think he had the original ones for the rum. Did he do the rum?
Yeah, he
did do the rum.
Well, no, he had a collision.
Oh, of course he did with Ollie.
With Oliver Here Racing.
He did. That was it. That's why I wasn't.
And so sadly he didn't do it. So I think we're going to see a safe race probably from Koji, because he really needs the miles for Vendée qualification, as so many of us do. We're all going to be treading a fine line between pushing and making sure we get to the other side. And then we're just coming to the other team that has two boats. So obviously we were looking at Chiral and Teamwork working together. So this is more of a two-boat team than they are, rather than a collaboration. So next to each other, we've got For the Planet on the far side and For the People on this side. For the People is Thomas Rion, and you can riff about that, Joff, while I look up who his co-skipper is.
Well, one thing to note is the size of his reaching poles. So these go outside, these go off the leeward transom, and basically he's just trying to open up the foot of the Jenicas. But you can see that his probably take the clue wider than the actual deck spreader, so they're not quite twice the length of ours, but they're a good time and a half, aren't they?
Oh, I like them, Joff.
They're massive.
I like them.
Yeah,
I like them.
I'll nick them. But yeah, a few handling problems with those. But again, it just shows the lengths people are going to just increase performance as much as they can. Weirdly, he hasn't, he's got a pretty enclosed cockpit, but he hasn't done anything to close off the side hatch thing, and it doesn't look like he can, which is a bit weird. But
I guess, being able to see out is
maybe
lots of water comes in. Maybe there's something to go on there later.
Yeah, for sure.
And his co-skipper is Morgan Legravier. Now, I think Morgan Legravier is an Olympic sailor as well as I think he started in the Olympics and then he went to the Figaros. And I think he's done ocean race as well. So, I mean, he's got an incredible pedigree. And again, this guy, top three, I'd say. He'll be fighting for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've probably got some structural concerns, I guess. But, I mean, maybe they've gone massive on the reinforcement after their problems. But, again, you see the low freeboard really stands out on the newer boats.
And then we have British sailor Sam Goodchild sailing with Antoine Coq. Again, Sam, watch him. He's fast. He's really fast. He's got a good boat. He's got, an incredible history of racing in all kinds of classes. So this is the old linked out Verdier design.
Yep. It's a quick boat. He's quick. They've got, as Pip was saying, it's from the same. Both boats managed by the linked out team. Advance team, I guess they're called. Probably not even called that. But again, so all the history from the last race has come with the boat. I think Sam had probably done some sailing on it anyway in the last race. Sam did a couple of legs of the ocean race.
Yeah.
So all the signs are very positive for him, and he's done as soon as he had the boat. He was doing well. So.
Yeah, and if I'm cheering on anyone else in the fleet, I'm cheering Sam on.
Yeah.
So here we have Manu Cousin, and he is sailing with Clément Giraud. So they're both 2020 Vendée Globe skippers. They've come together. Manu has a new sponsor, so his coup de pouce, Giffard Manutention.
Yeah. I mean, he's had the boat a long time, hasn't he? Because he had
He
it.
has, yeah.
I think he had it quite a long time before the 2020 race. So, I mean, yeah, must know the boat very well. Yeah.
So this is Simon Sebastian, Seb Simon, with Ika Martinez as his co-skipper, and this was 11th hour racing, which did the ocean race, and now Seb Simon has taken it over.
Yep. Won the ocean race.
Yep.
At the end there. Yeah.
Yep.
So Verdier Design. They had another boat. They had the Goya as their training boat for a few years, and then built this in 2021, I think. Launched 22. Sailing with Ika Martinez, who has actually done. He's an Spanish Olympic sailor, but has done loads of ocean race back in the day, and then did some IMOCA stuff. He did the Barcelona World Race in 2011. Very, very good sailor, as is Sebastian. So yeah, I imagine they will do quite well.
Next to him, we have the Chinese sailor Jingkung Zhu, sailing with Mike Golding, who is making a return to the class. What can you tell us about this boat?
Alan Rohrer had it, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Alan's boat before. It's a
2016.
Fino Conch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. Well, in fact, it was Brit Air in like 2008. Really quick boat actually in 2008. So Fino design. One of the first boats with like the monolithic hull, so solid carbon with all the ribs, which is kind of like basically the main way the boats are constructed presently. So that was kind of ahead of its time, very much a Fino thing. Yeah, I mean, he fitted foil. Did Alan fit the foils for 2020?
Alan did,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think again, not a great, not an amazing foil refit, but they were sort of limited with their means, and good for them for trying it so early on with a fairly limited budget. I'm sure it makes some difference. I think, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they get on. I'm not sure they have a common language, so that'll be difficult, but nice to have Mike back.
So moving down here, we've got a boat here that we have definitely seen at times before. So the boat is called Hubert, and it's John Le Cam's boat that he raced in the 2020 Vendée Globe race. It's now being taken on by Violette d'Orange, who is just 23 years old and looking for a place in the Vendée. And she's sailing with Damien Joulou, who Damien actually just came from the Golden Globe race.
Oh, you did, yeah, with PRB, but he pulled out in Cape Town, did he?
Yeah. But Damien's a Figaro sailor, and yeah, the pair are very much kind of. We know this is a fast boat anyway, don't we?
Yeah, it's Foncia he's Foncia in 2008, and he had a load of problems at the start. Started, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days after everyone else, had caught everyone within about a week, and then went on to win it. So obviously a bit down to him, but it's not a slow boat.
No, and they did really well. So their first race was the Defi Azimuth, and they did really well in that. So I think they were 10th or something like that.
Yeah, I think actually Ika Martinez used that for the Barcelona race he did. You'll see there for their Daggerboards there, it was kind of it was the start of trying to lift the boat out of the water. So traditionally, like you'll see on the old Aviva there, the foils were aligned so there's your heel.
Aviva?
Huh? I don't like to talk about it. They were aligned sort of for windward performance, so that the Daggerboard was vertical for upwind work. These guys inverted them basically, and then that was the start of trying to lift the boat out of the water.
And next door we have Biotherm. So this is Paul Mayat, and he has Mariana Lobato, the Portuguese sailor, as his co-skipper. So Biotherm did the ocean race. So Paul's done a lot of miles on this boat. He knows the boat inside out, which has only got to be a positive thing. And Mariana also did a couple of legs of the ocean race. So I think they're going to be a strong pairing again. I would be looking at this boat for top 5s for sure.
Yeah, I think it was probably. I think they didn't have a massive budget for the ocean race. I think they were always holding back a little bit. I think they were. I think they were second to last after Goyo. But I think probably, to be fair to him, the Vendée's the goal. Had a small budget. They didn't get the boat out of the water at some of the stopovers, really trying to economise. So the fact they got around, had a good, finished the race, I'm sure he'll learn a lot. And his boat is in good condition for the Vendée Globe, for this race and the upcoming Vendée Globe.
And then moving down, we have New Europe, which is the Hungarian sailor Zabi and his co-skipper. He has a female co-skipper as well, Irina Grava. They've done a few miles together. What do you know about this boat, Joff?
I don't know nothing. I don't even recognise it. I think Zabi's found a bit of money. He was really struggling up to the Rum last year, and I think it's all looking a bit more up together. So I suspect he's probably found a bit of money from somewhere in Europe, I guess. I think it's sponsored before. I think I recognise the brand, so I think they have been in a mocha before. But yeah, solid sailor. It's very similar to Ari, actually, who had the boat before.
Yeah.
Doing it for his own goals, really. Not looking to sort of set the world alight, but just to finish and achieve that.
And you are allowed to say that you did build this boat, Joff.
Well, I did. I mean, it looks a bit old, doesn't it? But he's. I have a lot less calls from Zavi now, so I think he's probably more in control of it. But yeah, solid boat, good boat. What a boat.
And we now moving down to another Swiss team. So there's a lot of Swiss in the race at the moment. So this is Oliver Here Racing. And Ollie's co-skipper is Nils Palmari. What do we know about this boat, Joff?
Well, yeah, 2008 FAR, originally Gitana. As you can see, it's still called Gitana. But Ollie's super nice guy. He used to work for the Hugo Boss team as boat captain, and is now doing his own thing. Again, struggling for money, I think. He was saying he's a bit worried about sales and stuff the other day when I was talking to him. He got hit at the start of the last. Well, him and Koji had a coming together. I'm not sure which way around it was. I think it was. I can't remember. But so that was unfortunate. But he sort of patched the boat up and finished anyway. So he got some miles for that. So again, I think he's his goals are Vendée Globe. He needs to finish this race for miles, sponsors, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, good luck to him.
And then we have Fabrice Amadeo next. So this is Nexans Art et Fenêtre, and super nice to see Fabrice back with another boat, because he had a sister hull to Medallia, and he'd fitted it with the old Seafoils from Hugo Boss days, and had a lithium battery fire during the route to Rum, and his boat sank, and luckily he was rescued by a ship, and his sponsors still keen to make it work, so he's come back with new to him, older Daggerboard boats, an Owen Clark design. Anything you know about this?
Sister ship to Aviva. And again, I worked on this boat for Mike in 2011. We did quite a big refit, changed coach reef, etc. It's probably the most hacked around boat, actually, because Arno had it for the 2020 race, I think. And
Arno's boat. Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, and sort of chopped the transom off, put new rudders in, changed the cockpit. I think again, you see the foils have gone the other way, and I think that is probably that's a new thing from last winter. I think, because I don't think Arno had done that, but again, massively modified. I think it's probably pretty light. I think he'll probably do for the Daggerboard boats. I think he'll probably do all right. It was always a quick boat, so.
Okay, so this is the oldest boat in the fleet. This is Partage, so it's with Francois Gouffon and Améric Bellois.
Yeah, Lombard design, 2004, I think it was launched. So there's only 3 boats launched for the 2004 race. There's Gamesa 2, this one, and Bonduelle, which is a sister ship. Bonduelle sank when the keel fell off with John le Cam sailing it. So this has done a lot of miles actually. It's done a few Barcelona races. It was privately owned and sort of sat outside the class for a bit. They had changed the rules to sort of prohibit pre-2006 boats doing it. I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but I think their main argument is that it was always been incredibly well looked after, so they've spent a lot of money on it. It's got a new keel, etc. So I think from a safety point of view, they're not so worried about it doing the Vendée. It's just going to depend on numbers, because he's going to be last to get in if it's under subscribed, which I very much doubt. So who knows.
And then here we have Sam Davies. So this is another great pairing, I'd say top 5 for these guys. It's Sam Davies' new boat, Manoir Design. She's sailing with Jack Bittel, who came and gave us a bit of coaching at the beginning of 2022. So again, really great pairing. Nice to see those two together on the water. There's a couple of these now, aren't there?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, 3, 4 with Phil Sharp. Well, when Phil Sharp's on the water, again, you can see she's got that massive lump of buoyancy foam at the back. I suspect these boats were struggling because they just haven't got much of a coach roof. So they've got high freeboard, pretty flat deck, and then not much of a coach roof. So I think that's probably why they've.
And you can see she's got real sea foils there, hasn't she?
She's also got in that red seat case on the back there's a Starlink. So I think 10 boats have Starlinks. Well, I haven't seen. We've got one, which we're giving a go. She's got one, and I haven't seen many others, but I was assured there are 10. So must be hidden around the place.
And then next to Sam, this is kind of another exciting addition to the fleet, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this boat goes. So this is Stand as One. It's Eric Bellion sailing with Martin Le Pape, and this is a brand newly launched Daggerboard boat. So kind of radical split from theory. Eric's working with Jean le Cam, and they've both decided to go for new Daggerboard boats.
Yeah, which hasn't been done since 2012. So obviously there's been massive advancements in hull shape. Obviously rigs, keels are all one design, so there's not much they can do there. So hull shape really is the only thing they can sort of play with to give them an advantage over older non-foiling boats.
So here we have Bureau Valet. This is sailed by Louis Berton and Davy Baudard. They are a regular pairing. And so this is the same hull design as Sam's, but the main difference is the way the foils come out, isn't it? They come out quite high in the deck, and actually they're the only ones in the fleet that come out like that now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his are grandfathered because they're too big for the new rules. So, but he really needs. He's had 2 dismastings in the last 4 years. So he got the boat straight away after the last race. I think he did.
Yeah,
he had it when we just bought his boat. So that was L'Occitane in the last race. He's lost 2 rigs, so he really needs to keep rigging the boat and finish this race.
So, and normally, I think we would see a really aggressive performance from Louis. He was 3rd in the Vendée Globe. He's a sailor who has his foot to the floor most of the time. But he needs to finish this race, as we do. Interesting thing here. So look, you see what his flag's on there. So that is a sonic wind sensor. So it's basically an alternative to the spinning caps and the arrow for wind direction and speed. And actually you can see at the top of the rigs, quite a few people have swapped them out at the top of the rigs. Louis is using that one down low as his spare, and indeed we've got one as a spare that we're going to trial on this race as well. But it's an interesting development, because anything kind of without moving parts would seem to be a pretty good idea. So this is final Daggerboard boat in the row. This is Louis Duke sailing with Remy Aubron, 5's group, Lantana Environment. Again, it's a Daggerboard boat but sailed by a really great sailor, and Louis just pushes this boat, gets some great results with it. You can see again, kind of like earlier on in the row, the really huge cockpit there. That actually makes me makes me shiver a bit now. But I think he can pull that back, can't he? It's got handles on it. I think he can pull that.
I think it is. That is back.
That is back.
That is back. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
go
So.
forwards from there. I mean, that is. I was just reading the history of that boat. It started off as PRB, then it was Akina with Cali, Initiatives Kerr, Bastide with Quito, Matricock, Fortil, Costum Latana Payage, and now it's that. So
Wow.
2008 boat, a lot of owners, a lot of miles.
Been around the block.
Has been around the block.
Excellent. So the final 4 Imokas are over on the other side of the dock there. Slightly different perspective because I'm nearly late for my safety brief. So first in the queue, it's one you will have seen before. You can always go back to one of our older doctors and look it up. So this is L'Occitane. That is Clarice Kremer's boat, and she is sailing with Alan Roberts. Previously it was a Pivia, so this boat has a pedigree.
Yeah, winner of the Vendée Globe, and they, to be fair to them, they only got the boat earlier this year. Obviously had to redo the branding and stuff, did well in the Fastnet, and did well in the Defi, I think. So obviously very fast boat. I think there was no, they didn't have much of a handover, I think it's safe to say, from the previous owners. So there's tech team had to do a lot of learning to get the boat back together again, because it had 2 owners since it had last sailed. So yeah, but obviously, yeah, quick boat. Alan Roberts did a load of the ocean race, I think. So yeah, quick pairing.
And they are next to Canada Ocean Racing, Be Water Positive, and this is one of the other teams that are working collaboratively. So both L'Occitane and Be Water Positive are underneath the ATR, so Alex Thompson Racing Management. So they're kind of again sharing resources, knowledge, etc. Just kind of trying to, find economies and boosting
and talent.
knowledge.
I think especially in France, there's a real shortage of talent, boat builders, riggers, engineers and stuff. So I think certainly for the 2 French teams that are collaborating, I think it makes a lot of sense.
And so Canada Ocean Racing, Be Water Positive, that is Scott Scheuer, Canadian, sailing with Nick Maloney, who is an ex-Vendée skipper, massively experienced ocean racing sailor on multiple classes. He's got quite a few world records, hasn't he, I think?
Yeah, he's done ocean race, America's Cup, back in the day, Mini he's done. There's not much he hasn't done.
And you know quite a bit about this boat, Joff, don't you?
Yeah, I love this boat. Owen Clark, my favourite.
Not as much as our boat,
not quite as much as our boat, obviously, but I sort of plucked it out of a boatyard in Portugal where it had been sat in Palma actually since 2012 when it was the keel fell off, and it spent a lot of time upside down, had a battery fire, and sat in a shed for about 10 years. So it's in a pretty bad way. Offshore Team Germany bought it, took it to Portugal, where they did a lot of the structural work, and then we took it back to Endeavour Quay in Gosport to finish it off. And then, yeah, with Offshore Team Germany, it won the Ocean Race Europe, which is a bit of a surprise because it was the only non-foiler. But a lot of light air, a lot of upwind, and it did really well. So, yeah, simple boat. I mean, I was saying the other day to Nick Maloney, it's almost like it's like a big class 40. So certainly for Scott, who's new to the class, it's a good learning boat for him, and his aim's the next Vendée Globe, so the next 2029. So it's a starter boat for him, and I think it's probably pretty good for that.
And then behind him we have Conrad Coleman rocking new colours and new sponsors, which is really great to see, because I know Conrad was plugging away last year to get that sponsorship in. So he's now got mailboxes, etc. as his title sponsor, and he is sailing with Fabio Mussolini. So what do you know about this boat?
Yeah, launched 2008, VPLP Verdier. It was Group Bell. And Conrad did really well, considering he had no budget and a lot of personal risk, I suspect, last year when he was sailing it. He pushed really hard, did really well. He's a good sailor. He's left some green bits on it, which I'd probably try to got rid of them. But that boat has had structural issues in the last 2 Vendée Globes, so pretty much nearly broke in half in 2016, and then in who had it in 2020?
It was V&B.
V&B, yeah, that was it. Again, finished with like cracks in the deck. So, and well, not weirdly, it was a sort of structurally in design a sister ship to PRB, which obviously did break in half and sink. So they have done an awful lot of work. They basically re-laminated the outside skin and put a lot more laminate in the deck. So hopefully those issues are behind the boat. And yeah, good luck to him, because he's a real worker. Conrad just sort of pushes all the time. So.
And then last but definitely not least is Human Immobleria. We've seen that on a couple of doctors now through 2022. So this is Antoine Cornic sailing with Jean-Claude Charles Leroux. It's a Daggerboard boat.
Yeah, I think it was O Canada or something. It was Derek Hatfield.
Oh, it was, yes,
Derek
right,
Hatfield.
yeah.
2005. No, yeah, 2005. I mean, it almost looks like Kingfisher. Very, very dated looking, but again, it's got a new rig, got wing rig. I think he's done quite a lot of mods to it. Yeah, solid boat.
Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that brief whistle stop tour. If you want more information, you can always go back and look at our previous dock tours over the last 3 years. And don't forget to follow the race on the tracker. There'll be a link provided on our social media sites.